while since we've spoke. However, I wanted to come on and just do a quick little bias for the week, given the current status of the charts, or I guess I should say, given the current move that we've had recently. We have been in consolidation for a really long time. So I didn't really want to do one of these because I feel like in consolidation, it's really not the best time to trade. So with that being said, we're on the day chart. I'm going to kind of talk you through what I see here and hopefully help you with determining how to create your bias for the upcoming week using ICT methodology, aka ICT PD arrays. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible and not overcomplicate things, but I do have to, in total transparency, tell you guys that I have been changing my trading style as of recent because I am currently in a one-on-one mentorship right now that is totally revamping my current process. So with that, we're going to walk through how I used to do things, but I did want to at least give you that brief disclaimer. So first of all, we're on the day chart. And again, we're looking at NQ, one of my favorite tickers to trade. I trade this in futures, and I will also trade QQQ with options as well when I see opportunities. So the first thing I wanted to spike out on NQ, and I have a lot of stuff on my chart, a lot of lipstick as Michael would call it, for my annotations. However, one thing I've observed is this area here on the chart, we have a balanced price range. Balanced price range is ultimately where, if you think about it like a paint swipe, right? You've got a paint swipe up and a paint swipe down. And in this range where I put this red bar, we have equal representations of both buyers and sellers. So with that, if we know that price seeks liquidity or imbalance, this has been reached, and I am of a bearish bias slightly. Okay, I'm kind of at the point right now with the chart where I'm looking at it from a conditional perspective. I see two scenarios, and based on whatever they do with the move is how I'll play it. And I like to use a bias to give me a perspective around an idea that I think the chart will do, and it just kind of helps me to frame in my mind the possible scenarios that we could see price play out in the upcoming week. I do not use bias as I'm just going to get in here when it gets to this point. That's not how I use bias. Bias merely helps me to strategize, just like if you were thinking about, this may sound extreme, but if you were thinking about like, we're going to go to war, we need to prepare for war, we're going to come up with scenarios. It's similar to that for me. And this has worked really well for me up until this point. So this is kind of how I'm approaching the chart. Something else I do want to spike out for me that has worked very well is that bias for me isn't about being right. I honestly don't care if I'm right. All I care about is if I'm prepared for whatever they do on the chart. I just want to be prepared for the various scenarios that could play out so that if I see one thing, I know what that means. I have my invalidation levels for each idea, and I know exactly how to respond. And if you guys hear some noise in the background, I got dogs going on. My son is playing the video game. So just give me a little grace if you do hear some background noise. But with that being said, I've done some annotations here on the chart that I just want to spike out. I'm going to send this to the back just because I am very picky about how my things are presented. But one thing I've noticed on the chart is, again, we've got this balanced price range. We also took liquidity on NQ. We had relative equal highs up here. So we had 1, 2, 3 highs that had not been taken in terms of their liquidity. And this liquidity here was clearly manufactured. And what I mean by that is price came up here, hit this wick, and then created this candle here. And on the next candle made an attempt to go higher and was stopped by this wick here, which we call a rejection block, and then subsequently came lower. So this wick is an area that I definitely had as a target, as well as this one on this swing, this fractal over here. So we took that when we traded up into it here on this candle, and then this following candle as well. So this liquidity has been taken, all this liquidity. And we think about like, who is this liquidity? What does this mean, right? This liquidity pool. This is basically anyone who took a short on these moves down and maybe anticipating that we would continue to go lower. Okay, so that is what we mean when we talk about liquidity pools. And something Michael always tells us is you want to really consider who is in profit, who's making money right now. So far, it's basically been a lot of selling, right? Selling coming down, been hitting these wicks all down here. Shorts, very aggressive shorts, coming down, hitting wicks. And they have also manufactured a lot of liquidity down here as well. You got this wick, this wick, this wick, this wick. So these are all going to be targets at some point in the future. However, it's important to note we do have liquidity. So that's, I think, the biggest thing I want you to take away from. We also have annotated the previous week high, which is this day candle close, the high of this day candle. And then we have December high here at the top of this fractal. So those are a couple key pieces that I want to spike out. We then have this day bullish fair value gap. And remember, fair value gap is a 3 candle pattern. So you have 1, 2, 3. I am annotating this gap from the high of the wick and the low of this wick. So that is where I've taken as this fair value gap. So one idea that I would like to see possibly happen, or that I'm curious is going to happen, is if we will trade down to offer sell side liquidity. And you can see it over here, sell side liquidity, because we sell down. That's kind of how my brain thinks about it. We sell down, and I'm open to price coming down into this fair value gap, and I would like to see it come down here. I'm open to it reaching this order block to the left. Sometimes they wick below, but I want to see the body close up here to demonstrate this bullish fair value gap is still active and being respected. So this is my first idea. And then my second idea would be for price to go and attack the December high. So this is the way. One idea is to do a retrace into a bullish continuation. And then idea B would be we could literally create a bullish new week opening gap, or maybe even continuation. And we could just open and go higher. So that is a possibility. We just go higher, we take this, and then we come down. Or we could just keep going. We could gap over this high over here, and we could retest here and keep going. So those are a couple scenarios. And again, for me, it's just a matter of paying attention to what they do on small time frame and being open to it and being able to adapt. Because at the end of the day, I just want to make some money and I don't want to get clapped. I don't want to take any losses. So by playing these scenarios out, it helps me by being able to adapt to whatever they do based on, tonight at open, we open here at 6 p.m. this evening, or there's a potential we could consolidate, but I will just play the reaction of whatever they do. So if we get over this red balanced price range, what I always do is I flip it to green, because that helps me with just, keeping track of everything and my various stocks that I'm watching. So I would flip that green. If we get over, I would expect resistance to act as support. And if for some reason we come down here, which I'm highly unlikely, I don't really think we're going to just cut through here, but it is possible. But if we for some reason came below this order block and we created a bullish fair value gap over this level, I would be looking for lower prices. I do not think this is a logical scenario, just given the way that we consolidated for so long. Like, look at the last time we had a bullish fair value gap on this chart was like this little sliver, and it was disrespected. So it's been a minute, long story short. And the only way you leave consolidation is with expansion. So this is a gap you want to play, right? Or that I'm looking to play. On one condition, I do want to see it set up. So again, this is my idea for the upcoming week. I do also want to spike out another thing that I do definitely encourage you all learn and take some time to study, and that is SMT. SMT is when you have two correlated assets, so that's NQ ES, and YM is also a correlated asset. I got some things on the chart I was actually explaining to my youngest. I have a 13-year-old who is currently trying to learn PD arrays. So I'm teaching him the different PD arrays so he can understand them as well. But long story short, NQ made a higher high. And because ES and YM are correlated assets to NQ, the NASDAQ, we wanted to see them make a higher high as well. And they failed. They failed to do so. So anytime you see a failure swing, it's kind of giving you a clue to be careful with having too strong of a bullish bias, because we are seeing failure. And it also communicates that the arrays that price hit and reached at that level are likely holding as support, and we are likely to need to retrace before continuing higher. Again, does it mean that it definitely will happen? No, it doesn't. Nothing is 100% in the market, okay? So I think that's the first thing we have to anticipate. But that is my bias, and that's my logic as to why. So something you can also see is this candle here. I've used this and picked this as my bearish order block on ES, the S&P 500. And as you can see, when we fell and made this dramatic move down and traded away from this candle, we created what's called a volume gap. We also had a lot of rejection. So we rejected the volume gap. We rejected the order block with this wick. We continued to reject. It was almost like every time we touched, it was like hot stove, right? Until we got here. And on this candle, we're still demonstrating respect to the order block by the body. Bodies tell the story, wicks do the damage. If we were disrespecting it, we would have had a body closed above the dotted line. The other thing I'm observing is we have this wick that is also respecting this order block, just kind of again communicating that this order block has not opened to allow price to pass. So ES to me is giving, we probably need to come back and hit this fair value gap before we see what's next, which again is giving me more confluence to the idea that NQ will reach back and touch this fair value gap before trying to continue higher. YM over here, YM has not left consolidation yet. And I do have additional things on YM that make me think she may try to hit back with a wick as well. So all of these are just giving me a bias that we are likely to have a bullish weekly profile. And this is also something I want you guys to learn, and I can give you, I'll put a video in the description box where you can do some research on weekly profiles and how to anticipate how the week will play out and on what days price action will do certain things. But I'm anticipating a bullish weekly profile, leveraging a pullback early in the week and continuation later into the week. And I just want to spike out on NQ, this is why. So as you can see on ES and NQ, we've got these swing highs up here, right? And I think that these would be reasonable, viable targets for our next opportunity. So on NQ, this would be our buy side liquidity and our target. This is what I'm focused on. And on ES, we're looking for this target here at 61.7875. So I hope this makes sense to you guys. Just kind of wanted to keep it real simple. Again, I will adapt to whatever they do. If we gap over that level that I mentioned to you earlier, I'll play that. If we do that, I would want to see price set up as support on that level. Okay? That would give me the ability to be comfortable, and then I would also know where to put my stop loss. But again, wicks can cut through, but the bodies is what tell you the story, right? So that would be what I'd be looking for. And if we reject and this holds as resistance, I'm looking for price to come down and offer sell side to this bullish day fair value gap. And I think the last thing, like I said, just keep in mind, this is my invalidation level. But if you guys have any questions about anything that I've said in this video, definitely let me know. I will try to stay tapped into you guys. I've got some videos that I do want to do, offering you ideas on various things that you should tap into from preparing your trading style and content that you should definitely look into. So stay tuned for that. If you don't have your notifications on, definitely turn them on so you don't miss those videos when they come. But I just appreciate you guys. I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you in my next video upload. I hope you all have a great week and be careful out there.